Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Saket. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Nexla. As far as background, I worked at NVIDIA for a long time as a software engineer and then product manager. Nexla is the second time I'm a founder at a company, and the focus for Nexla has been on the challenge of data variety in enterprises. So hundreds of systems, different data silos. How do you work with that, and how do you bring that data to agents and make your agents work in the enterprise? Okay, so today I'll give a quick introduction about Nexla. I'll talk specifically about MCP Studio, which is one of our most recent products, which creates task-specific MCPs. And then I'll do a very quick demo as well. Okay. So, quick introduction about Nexla as a company. Um, Today we serve enterprises across different verticals and sectors, the likes of J&J, Autodesk, Geico, DoorDash, and so on. We have over 750 different enterprise systems that we connect into, everything from legacy to modern systems, databases, warehouses, on-prem environments, a lot of SaaS services, APIs, and so on. We're currently the highest rated product in Gartner Peer Insights from customer reviews at 4.9 stars. And we are working at real large scale in production across complex use cases. So let me, with that in context, let me go a little bit into, where we fit into the picture. Okay. So data infrastructure or connecting to enterprise systems as far as data is not a new thing. It's being done over several decades and has gone through several generations. The big difference that has been happening is that much of the need for data in enterprises was for analytics. Dashboarding of data was the primary use case until now, when agents have become or are becoming the biggest users of data. Now, the challenge with the analytics world is that the goal was to show a dashboard, not to really serve agents, which is read only, get data from these different systems, visualize them. It was all about data access because a human looks at a dashboard, they have context, they understand what the data is, and you only needed data from some of the most prominent or the big sources of data for you to dashboard that, right? Not every system was being plugged into. So with agents, a lot of these things have been changing. Number one, for connectivity, when we look at any enterprise team doing a specific task, you could be doing customer renewals, you could be doing campaign management in marketing, you could be doing people onboarding in HR operations. No matter what task you do, you touch multiple tools. So connectivity is not just about the big sources of data, it's about pretty much everything that you work with. With an agent connecting to these systems, data alone is not sufficient. You have to understand what the data is. What does it mean? And how to make the best use of that, which is the context. Data along with context is very essential. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then be able to take actions, not just get information out of the system. So all of these become very important aspects about working with agents. And these agents need data, they need context, they need to have actions, and they also need to be governed very carefully and thoughtfully. So I'll share with you where we fit in the enterprise data stack. Then we'll look at MCP Studio and a quick demo. Okay. So imagine the enterprise environment as in the base layer is a lot of systems that they have. It could be their SAP, Oracle Workdays. It could be Salesforce CRM tools, databases, streaming data systems, internal tools, documents, and all of that, right? And then you want to bring all your agents and chatbots and coding tools on top. So Nexla sits as a layer connecting these two in between. So we're kind of sitting as the data layer. And foundational to Nexla is a very conversational user interface so that it's easy for people to work with. The three aspects that we cover as a product. First aspect is the data connectivity. As I said, we have over 750 different connectors for different types of systems. We also are able to now build connectors in under a week from zero to production. The layer that sits above that is the knowledge layer. It's the context layer that we call as Helix. When we connect to systems or when we build connectors for systems, we build a lot of know-how of what are these systems, what are their entities, and what is the meaning associated with different objects and how they interact with each other. That helps us to build understanding around the data. And then it comes to then finally delivering that data back to these applications. So MCP Studio is one of the components. There are various other ways in which we finally deliver data back to the application layer. Okay, that includes pipelining, that includes SDKs, that includes agentic RAG. Okay, so let's take a look at MCP Studio. The approach for MCP Studio is to really build a task-specific MCP server. So as I said, the task could be customer renewals, the task could be campaign management. And when we look at a task for any team, it touches multiple tools. A customer renewal will touch a CRM, a finance tool, a customer support tool. It will also look at data in your system about how they're using your product. So the pathway to this is basically to start with the purpose. Teams or users are able to provide a document, upload that, and say, hey, this is my presentation from my last sales kickoff. This is my process document for employee onboarding. There are different sources of information of how you operate as a team. Start with the document. We, based on that, understand what systems you use, probe through them, identify which tools actually make sense for your particular task. So you may just need a couple of different tools from your sales CRM tool. You may need a few tools from your finance system, a few others from your product usage. So we stitch those together. We bring the context from your documents as well as what we have already understood about those systems and package that all together. So it basically becomes a system where tools are dynamically stitched together into a single MCP server. Now, this is very important because one of the biggest challenges for companies today is cost. And cost is coming because when they connect to multiple different MCP servers across different vendors, one, they have too many tool calls. So there's a lot of token consumption. Also, context can get bloated heavily. So I'm not going to go into all of the details, but suffice it to say that we are seeing 3x improvement. So 1/3 of the token consumption by taking a task-specific MCP approach, not trying to connect to too many tools, just what matters for this task, and having the right context. And that actually the fewer tool calls that we're able to do to serve the same task is actually improving latency as well. So with that, I want to quickly give you a view of the product. So this is Express, which is our um, interface for building everything that you want to do, whether it is pipelines or MCP servers, by simply chatting. And I'll give you a quick view of how this whole experience looks like. So I basically start with uploading a document and just telling it to say, okay, I'm working on this process, help me connect through that. Detecting the different systems. So other than this first prompt, I didn't have to do anything. So detecting the systems that are involved, scans through my account to see what credentials they already have, scans through those systems to identify the different tools that matter. So it goes through that whole process and ultimately sort of builds out an initial MCP server for me, and gives me a lot of other controls as so that I can go take a look at that. And then finally, if I look at here, when the system is actually built, it's giving me direct sort of access into different ways I want to authenticate the servers. You simply have to copy paste that into Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, whichever one you're using. Gives you all the tools. In addition, it actually has a set of tools that allow us to when you are using the MCP server, go and search for more tools if needed. And that's where some of the intelligence lies, in dynamically connecting the tools together and ultimately getting you to the best possible outcome. So it's a learning system that's constantly improving in how it's serving out the right tools. Okay. With that, I want to go back to the part. So at the foundation of all of this is these systems that we have connectivity built into. And what's very important is not just the breadth, which is the number of systems we connect, but the depth, which means a system like a Salesforce could have several hundred objects in there. So do systems like Workday, for example. So going both broad and deep into the connectivity, working in both the modes where we may pipeline the data over and then serve it versus go real time into the systems as needed, and then dynamically discovering and figuring out the tools that matter. Okay. The three other ways we serve data to different applications. There is a agent SDK, which is for coding agents to use when you don't have an MCP client, for example. agentic RAG, which serves more of the chatbot type of use cases, and then the traditional data pipelining. So I won't go into the details of that. And then, different types of use cases and examples, whether it's, DoorDash's data from the merchant ecosystem, or Microsoft's Copilot and how we're enabling connectivity for them, and then, multimodal data for some of our other use cases. So different ways in which we are serving that. And each of these are enterprise environments where governance matters, multiple systems matter, and reliability matters a lot. So oftentimes we wonder whether simply AI can generate the code to connectors. What we find is that reliability, monitoring, and being able to run these things 365 days a year, 24/7 takes a lot more than just generated code. Okay, I'll wrap this up with a QR code for anybody who wants to scan this and take a look. This talks more about MCP Studio as part of our launch announcement. So take a look. You're welcome to also try out the product. Go to express.dev and you should be able to get started there. Okay, thank you.